The morning started like any other day in Seoul until the sky turned black. Hyunwoo stood on his apartment balcony, coffee mug in hand, watching what looked like storm clouds gathering overhead. But storms did not move in perfect geometric patterns, and they certainly did not block out the sun in neat rectangles across the entire city. His phone buzzed with emergency alerts in 3 languages. Then came the voice that would change everything. People of Earth. The words echoed from every device capable of receiving signals. Television screens, radios, smartphones, even the electronic billboard across the street displayed the same message. We are the hegemony. We represent 12 advanced civilizations that maintain order in this galaxy. Hyunwoo nearly dropped his coffee. The voice sounded artificial, like a computer trying to speak human words. Above him, the massive dark shape began to reveal details. It was not a cloud. It was a ship bigger than anything humans had ever built. Your species has developed too quickly. The voice continued. In merely 10,000 years, you have gone from primitive hunters to space-capable beings. This rate of advancement threatens the established balance of power. Minho rushed into the presidential bunker 3 floors beneath Seoul, as similar scenes played out in capitals worldwide. His advisors spoke rapidly in hushed tones, but he could only stare at the screen showing identical ships hovering over New York, London, Tokyo, Moscow, and dozens of other major cities. "Sir, they are broadcasting on every frequency simultaneously," reported Communications Director So Young. "Whatever technology they are using, it is far beyond our current capabilities." The alien voice resumed its message. "We have studied your species for the past 50 of your years. You wage wars constantly. You consume resources without planning for the future. You create weapons capable of destroying your own planet. Yet you also show disturbing signs of cooperation when threatened." In a small apartment in Busan, Jin-ho watched the broadcast while his daughter clung to his arm. He was a fighter pilot in the Korean Air Force, trained to defend his country against human enemies. Nothing in his training had prepared him for this moment. "Therefore, we offer you a choice," the alien continued. "Submit to hegemony authority. Your military forces will be disbanded. Your governments will report to appointed hegemony administrators. Your people will be relocated to designated areas where they can be properly supervised. In return, you will be protected from the dangers of your own violent nature." The camera feeds showed people in the streets of every major city, all looking up at the ships with mixtures of fear and wonder. Some ran screaming, others stood frozen. A few pointed phones at the sky, still trying to document everything even as their world changed forever. Kyung-min worked the late shift at a steel factory in Incheon when the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in moments later, but the Bayer radio kept playing the alien message on repeat. His coworkers gathered around the small radio in the break room, listening to words that seemed impossible. "Your alternative is simple," the voice said with no emotion. "Refuse our generous offer and your species will be eliminated. We have done this before with 17 other worlds that chose defiance over wisdom. Each believed they were special. Each believed they could resist. Each learned otherwise." The message paused for exactly 10 seconds. In that silence, Hyung-woo could hear car alarms, sirens, and human voices shouting in the distance. The normal sounds of a city trying to process the impossible. "You have 72 hours to make your decision," the alien voice resumed. "Your world leaders will broadcast their choice on all available channels at the end of this period. Choose wisely. We do not make offers twice." The transmission ended. Every screen went back to normal programming, but nothing felt normal anymore. News anchors struggled to find words for what had just happened. Some channels showed nothing but empty studios where reporters had simply walked away from their desks. In the presidential bunker, Minho stared at reports flooding in from around the world. The ships were real. They were enormous. And according to preliminary scans, they contained technology that made human weapons look like wooden clubs. "Sir," So Young said carefully, "we are receiving similar reports from every major government. The ships appeared simultaneously worldwide. They knew exactly where to position themselves for maximum psychological impact." Yoonji stood in her empty classroom in Daegu, having sent her students home early when the announcement began. Through the window, she could see the edge of the massive ship hovering over the city center. It cast a shadow that stretched for kilometers, turning day into artificial twilight. Her phone rang. It was her brother, a soldier stationed near the DMZ. "The aliens are not just over the cities," he said without greeting. "There are smaller ships over every military base, every missile site, every place where we keep weapons. They know everything about us." As the first day of humanity's ultimatum ended, people around the world faced the same terrible question: surrender and live as slaves, or fight and face extinction. The aliens had given them 3 days to choose between two forms of death: the death of freedom or the death of everything. But in Seoul, in Busan, in small towns and large cities, something unexpected began to happen. Instead of panic, instead of despair, people began to talk. Not about surrender, but about something the aliens had not anticipated in their calculations: human stubbornness. The first sign of defiance came from an unexpected place. Sung-ho, a factory worker in Gwangju, refused to go home when his supervisor closed the plant early. Instead, he started welding thick steel plates onto delivery trucks in the company parking lot. When asked why, he simply said, "If they want to fight, we need armor." By the second day, similar scenes played out across the globe. In small workshops and massive factories, ordinary people began modifying civilian vehicles into something resembling military equipment. They had no official orders, no government funding, and no real plan. They just refused to sit and wait for death or slavery. Hae-won worked as a teacher in a small school outside Busan. When parents came to collect their children, she made an announcement that surprised everyone, including herself. "Classes will continue tomorrow. The children need normal routines. We will not let fear win before we even try to fight," some parents argued. Others worried about safety. But the next morning, half her students showed up anyway. They spent the day learning mathematics and reading stories, while massive alien ships cast shadows over their playground. It was a small act of rebellion, but it mattered. The real surprise came during an emergency meeting of world leaders. President Min-ho expected hours of debate about surrender terms and negotiation strategies. Instead, he found something unprecedented in human history: complete agreement. "We will not kneel," said the American president during the video conference. "Our people refuse to accept slavery," added the German chancellor. "Every nation stands united on this matter," confirmed the Indian prime minister. It took less than 30 minutes to craft humanity's response, not because it was simple, but because every leader said exactly the same thing in different words. Earth would not surrender. Admiral Yu Jin commanded the Pacific Fleet from her headquarters in Jeju. She knew her ships and planes were hopelessly outmatched against alien technology. The enemy vessels showed no obvious weapons, but intelligence. Reports suggested they could destroy entire cities without effort. Her forces might last minutes in direct combat, but Yu Jin had spent her career studying military history. She knew that superior technology did not always guarantee victory. The key was making the enemy fight on your terms, not theirs. "We cannot match their firepower," she told her staff officers, "but we can make them work for every victory. We can make them pay a price they did not expect." Engineers like Il-sung worked around the clock in secret facilities, trying to understand alien technology from the few scans their satellites had managed. The ships used energy signatures unlike anything in human science, but they followed physical laws. That meant they had weaknesses. Their shields appeared to deflect directed energy weapons, Il-sung reported to the Defense Ministry. "But we have no data on how they handle kinetic impacts or unconventional attacks." The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Jae-sung, a video game designer in Seoul, noticed something strange about the alien ship movements. They followed perfect geometric patterns, like computer programs running predetermined routines. "They are not adapting to local conditions," he explained during an emergency consultation with military planners. "Look at the ship over Seoul. It maintains the same altitude and position despite wind patterns and air traffic. It is following a script." This observation led to the first real hope humanity had found. If the aliens relied on programmed responses, instead of creative thinking, Human unpredictability might be an advantage instead of a weakness. Bo Young managed a small electronics factory that normally made smartphone components. Without official authorization, she began converting the production line to manufacture simple radio jammers and signal disruptors. Her workers volunteered to stay late every night, refusing payment for what they called the most important project of our lives. Similar improvised preparations happened everywhere. Restaurant owners like Dong Hyun learned to preserve food for long-term storage. Mechanics like Min Seo modified civilian helicopters with armor plating and mounting points for weapons. Doctors like Chang Wook stockpiled medical supplies in hidden locations. The aliens had given humanity 72 hours to surrender. They had not anticipated that humans would use those same 72 hours to prepare for war. On the final day, crowds gathered in city centers worldwide, not to protest or panic, but to hear their governments announce humanity's decision. The alien ships hung overhead like dark clouds waiting for Earth's answer. President Min-ho stood before cameras in Seoul, representing not just his nation but his entire species. The words he spoke had been agreed upon by every world leader, in complete unanimity. To the hegemony forces currently occupying Earth's airspace, he began, his voice steady despite the magnitude of the moment. We have considered your offer carefully. We understand the consequences of our decision. We know you believe resistance is futile. The alien commander watched the broadcast from his flagship, confident in humanity's inevitable surrender. His analysis of human behavior suggested they would choose survival over pride when faced with overwhelming force. Our answer is simple, Min-ho continued. We are humanity. We do not serve. We do not kneel. We do not surrender our freedom for the promise of safety. If you want our world, if you want our submission, you will have to take it by force, and we will make you pay for every inch. The broadcast ended. Earth had made its choice. In the alien flagship, the commander experienced something his species had not felt in centuries: surprise. According to his calculations, this response had been statistically impossible. He was about to learn that humans specialized in the impossible. The attack came at sunrise on the fourth day. Thin beams of blue light shot down from the alien ships, striking military bases with surgical precision. The beams made no sound, but wherever they touched, metal melted and concrete turned to dust. Within minutes, half of Earth's official military installations were gone. Moon-soo sat in his fighter jet at Osan Air Base when the beam hit the control tower. He watched it collapse in slow motion, like a sandcastle being washed away by invisible waves. His radio crackled with panicked voices from pilots across the base, but the runway remained intact. The aliens had destroyed command structures while leaving the aircraft untouched. They want to capture our equipment, he realized aloud. They are not trying to destroy everything. That mistake would cost them. Without waiting for orders that would never come, Moon-soo started his engine. His wingman, Tae-ho, pulled alongside in another fighter. They had no mission briefings, no strategic objectives, and no hope of survival. They just refused to sit on the ground while their world burned. The alien escort ships were smaller than the city-sized motherships, but still massive by human standards. They moved slowly and predictably, like whales swimming through the sky. Moon-soo aimed his fighter directly at the nearest one and pushed his throttle to maximum. His missiles struck the alien shields and exploded harmlessly. His cannon rounds bounced off like raindrops. But when his fuel ran out and his engines died, momentum carried his fighter straight into the enemy hull. The explosion was tiny compared to the alien ship's size, but it punched through their armor, like a needle through cloth. The alien vessel shuddered, sparked, and began falling toward the sea below. It was the first enemy casualty of the war, achieved by a pilot with no plan beyond refusing to give up. Ji-hai commanded a small infantry unit stationed in underground tunnels beneath Seoul. When the surface attacks began, her orders were simple: hide and wait for further instructions. Instead, she led her soldiers up through maintenance shafts into the subway system. The aliens had landed ground troops in the main squares and government districts. They moved in perfect formations, their armor gleaming silver in the morning light. Each soldier stood 3 meters tall and carried weapons that hummed with barely contained energy. but they had never fought in subway tunnels. Ji-Hai's unit struck from manholes and drainage grates, appearing just long enough to fire before disappearing back underground. The alien soldiers tried to follow, but their large bodies could not fit through the narrow passages humans used like highways. They are too big for urban warfare, Ji-Hai reported through her radio to anyone still listening. Their size is a weakness, not a strength. Her observation spread quickly through civilian networks. All over Seoul, people began attacking alien ground forces from places the invaders could not reach. Windows, rooftops, sewers, and basements became firing positions for humans with hunting rifles and improvised weapons. Yanwu had never been a soldier. He sold insurance in a small office building in Gangnam. But when alien troops marched down his street, he threw a homemade explosive from his fourth-floor window. The blast did not kill any aliens, but it knocked 3 of them down and scattered their formation. More explosives fell from other windows. The aliens looked up to find targets, but the humans had already moved to different buildings. It was like fighting shadows that struck and vanished before retaliation was possible. The alien ground commander had conquered 17 worlds using the same tactics: land overwhelming force, destroy organized resistance, and accept surrender from the surviving population. But humans were not following the expected pattern. Status report, he demanded through his communication system. Sir, we have secured the primary objectives, but we are experiencing unexpected harassment from civilian populations. They are using unconventional tactics that do not match standard military doctrine. Define unconventional. They are hiding in structures too small for our forces to enter. They attack from multiple directions simultaneously. When we move to engage, they disappear and attack from different locations. Our casualties are higher than projected. North, the mountains outside Busan, Seungmin led a group of miners and farmers against an alien outpost. The invaders had set up their base in a valley, following standard military procedure for defensible positions. But they had not considered the humans' knowledge of local terrain. Seungmin's group used mining explosives to trigger landslides on the hills above the alien camp. Tons of rock and dirt crashed down on the enemy position, burying their equipment and forcing the survivors into the open where human snipers waited. The aliens had energy shields that could stop bullets and missiles, but rocks falling from the sky were not the kind of threat their technology was designed to handle. Similar scenes played out across the globe. In New York, humans used the subway system for guerrilla attacks. In London, they fought from the centuries-old tunnel networks beneath the city. In Tokyo, office workers dropped debris from skyscrapers onto alien patrols below. After 72 hours of what was supposed to be a simple occupation, the alien commander studied casualty reports that made no sense. His forces had achieved all their primary objectives, but they had lost more ships and soldiers than in the conquest of the previous 3 worlds combined. How is this possible? He asked his tactical computer. These beings have inferior technology and no unified command structure. Analysis suggests the enemy is employing chaos-based strategy patterns that do not exist in our databases, the computer replied. Recommendation: increase force deployment by factor of 10. The commander paused. No world had ever required such massive resources, but humans had already proven they would not follow any rules he understood. The war was just beginning. 3 months after the first attack, everything had changed. The aliens no longer moved with the confidence they had shown during their initial assault. Their patrols were smaller, more cautious, and they avoided the underground areas where humans had proven most dangerous. Bo Young worked in a hidden laboratory beneath a destroyed shopping mall in Seoul. Her team had salvaged pieces of alien technology from crashed ships and fallen soldiers. What they discovered changed the entire war. Their shields work by detecting incoming energy signatures, she explained to the group of engineers and scientists gathered around her workbench. The system identifies the threat and creates a barrier tuned to that specific frequency, but it takes time to analyze and respond. She held up a crude device that looked like a smartphone attached to a car battery. If we can confuse their sensors with multiple different signals at once, their shields cannot adapt fast enough. The first test came when Captain Dong Hyun led a squadron of modified civilian aircraft against an alien patrol ship. Each plane carried Bo Young's improvised jamming device along with conventional weapons. The aliens' shields flickered and failed as their systems tried to process dozens of conflicting energy readings simultaneously. Human missiles struck the alien hull for the first time since the war began. The enemy ship crashed into the Han River, its crew too shocked to send a distress signal before the impact. Insu commanded a unit of former police officers and civilian volunteers in the ruins of Incheon. His group had learned to fight the aliens on human terms using tactics no military academy had ever taught because no one had imagined fighting enemies like these. The breakthrough came during an ambush in an abandoned factory district. The aliens had surrounded Insu's position and were closing in when he made a desperate decision. Instead of trying to escape, he ordered his people to collapse the building they were hiding in. The aliens expected humans to preserve their own lives above all else. They had calculated safe distances based on this assumption. But as the factory came crashing down, Insu's team was already moving through prepared escape tunnels, while tons of debris buried the alien assault force. "They think like us," Insu reported over the radio networks that connected resistance cells across the country. "They assume we will act logically to preserve ourselves, but we are not logical when we are angry." This observation spread through the human resistance like wildfire. Groups began using seemingly suicidal tactics that were actually carefully planned operations. They would appear to be trapped, lure alien forces into kill zones, then escape through routes the enemy never expected. Dr. Il-sung made the most important discovery in a basement laboratory in Daegu. While studying captured alien equipment, he found something that changed his understanding of the entire invasion. "Their technology is not innovative," he announced during a secret meeting of remaining government officials. "It is old, very old. These weapons and ships use designs that have not changed for thousands of years." The implications were staggering. The hegemony had conquered world after world using the same methods, the same equipment, and the same tactics. They had never needed to improve because nothing had ever challenged them. But humans were different. Human technology improved constantly, driven by competition, curiosity, and the refusal to accept that something could not be done better. Ji-won worked as a communications specialist before the war. Now she coordinated attacks across multiple cities using networks the aliens could not decode. Human internet infrastructure had been designed to route around damage, making it nearly impossible to shut down completely. "Strike Team 7, the convoy is moving through Sector 4, she transmitted from her hidden command post. "Strike Team 12, can you block the escape route?" "Confirmed. Setting charges now." The alien convoy never reached its destination. Human forces had learned to work together without central command, adapting their plans in real time as situations changed. The invaders, accustomed to rigid hierarchies and predetermined strategies, could not counter this fluid style of warfare. The Aikya turning point came when Captain Minseo's unit captured an intact alien transport ship. The vessel had been forced down by jamming devices and surrounded before its crew could destroy sensitive equipment. For the first time, humans had access to functional alien technology instead of just wreckage. Teams of engineers worked around the clock to understand how it operated, how to fly it, and most importantly, how to build more. Within weeks, the first human-alien hybrid aircraft took to the skies. It looked like someone had built a spaceship using spare parts from a junkyard, held together with welds and prayer. But it worked, and it gave humans their first real advantage in the war. Chang Wook piloted the hybrid fighter during its first combat mission. The alien patrol ships detected his approach but could not classify his vessel. Their computers had no files on the strange mix of human and alien technology flying toward them. By the time they realized the threat, Chang Wook was already among them, firing weapons that used alien power sources but human targeting systems. The combination proved devastating. Alien shields designed to stop their own weapons could not adapt to the chaotic energy signatures of hybrid technology. 3 enemy ships fell from the sky in as many minutes. In orbit above Earth, the alien fleet commander studied reports that defied all logical analysis. The humans were not just resisting anymore, they were winning. "Recommend immediate withdrawal to safe distance," his tactical officer advised. "The enemy is adapting faster than our models predicted possible." The commander had conquered 17 worlds. He had never retreated from any of them, but he had never fought humans before. 6 months after the first alien ultimatum, humanity took the war to space. Admiral Chang Wook commanded Earth's newly assembled fleet from the bridge of a ship that should not have existed. The vessel looked like a patchwork of human engineering and alien technology, held together by welds, determination, and what his crew called controlled chaos. The ship's hull bore scars from a dozen battles, repaired with whatever materials could be found. Human steel plates covered alien armor sections. Conventional engines worked alongside captured alien drives. It was ugly, improvised, and completely unpredictable. "Sir, we are detecting the hegemony staging fleet beyond Jupiter," reported Navigation Officer Sung Ho, whose station combined a human radar display with alien sensor technology that his team had learned to operate through trial and error. Chang Wook studied the tactical display. 47 alien vessels arranged in perfect geometric formation, just as they had positioned themselves over Earth cities months ago. They still fought like they always had, following patterns that had worked for centuries. "Signal the fleet," Chang Wook ordered. "All ships advance, no formation discipline, make it look chaotic." The human fleet moved toward the enemy like a swarm of angry bees rather than a military formation. Each captain chose his own approach route, his own speed, and his own target. To alien sensors, it looked like random madness. That was exactly the point. Captain Minseo piloted her fighter squadron through the asteroid belt using the rocks as cover. Her ships were tiny compared to the alien vessels, but they moved like nothing the enemy had ever encountered. Human reflexes, human intuition, and human stubbornness made them impossible to predict. "Remember," she transmitted to her pilots, "they expect us to run when things get dangerous, so when things get dangerous, we charge." The first alien shots missed by kilometers. Their targeting computers calculated intercept courses based on logical flight patterns. But human pilots did not fly logically. They flew like they were angry, desperate, and completely insane. In the alien flagship, Commander studied tactical displays that made no sense to his analytical mind. The human vessels followed no recognizable attack formation. Their movements seemed random, chaotic, and utterly without discipline. "Status of defensive systems?" he inquired. "All shield generators operating at maximum efficiency," his tactical officer reported. "Energy weapon arrays ready for engagement. The enemy vessels appeared to be poorly coordinated." What the aliens did not understand was that humans had learned to coordinate without rigid command structures. Each ship captain made independent decisions while working toward the same goal. It was organized chaos, and it was devastating. Fighter. Pilot Jae Sung dove his hybrid craft between two massive alien dreadnoughts, firing at their shield generators with weapons that combined human explosives and alien energy systems. The enemy shields flickered as they tried to analyze the mixed signals, giving him precious seconds to target critical systems. His missiles, crude by alien standards but effective by human measures, punched through the confused defenses and struck the shield generators directly. For the first time in the war, an alien capital ship lost its primary protection. "Shield breach confirmed on enemy vessel 7, Chang Wook announced to the fleet. "All units, focus fire on that target." The human response was immediate and overwhelming. Every ship in range turned toward the vulnerable alien vessel and opened fire simultaneously. Conventional bullets, improvised missiles, captured alien weapons and things that barely qualified as weapons at all struck the enemy ship from dozens of directions. The alien vessel, designed to handle organized attacks from other advanced civilizations, could not cope with the sheer variety of threats hitting it at once. Its armor held for 30 seconds before catastrophic failure sent it tumbling toward Jupiter's gravity well. But the real shock came next. Captain Kyungmin's ship, damaged and losing atmosphere, did not retreat as expected. Instead, he aimed directly at the alien command vessel and pushed his engines to maximum power. "Sir, what are your intentions?" the alien commander transmitted, confused by this suicidal approach. Kyungmin's response was broadcast on all frequencies, so every human and alien in the battle could hear it. This is what happens when you mistake our kindness for weakness. His ship struck the alien flagship's bridge at full speed. The explosion was small compared to the massive enemy vessel, but it destroyed the command center and killed the invasion's leadership in a single moment. Across the battlefield, alien ships began receiving the same message from their home fleet. Withdraw immediately. Mission parameters have changed. Dr. Yu Jin, monitoring communications from Earth, translated the alien transmissions for the Resistance leadership. They are not retreating because they are losing, she explained. They are retreating because they finally understand what they are fighting. The last alien transmission came from the surviving fleet commander as his ships prepared to jump to hyperspace. Species classification updated. Humanity designated as equals. Recommendation: avoid future contact. These beings do not follow predictable patterns. As the alien fleet disappeared into space, leaving Earth's system forever, Chang-wook stood on his bridge looking at stars that belonged to humanity once again. His ship was damaged, his crew was exhausted, and his fleet was held together by spare parts and stubbornness. But they had won. Not because they were stronger than the aliens or smarter or more advanced. They had won because when faced with the choice between comfortable slavery and dangerous freedom, humanity had chosen freedom without hesitation. Earth was free, and the galaxy had learned that some species could not be conquered. They could only be respected.